Good morning, Akwa Ibom. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, humanity, wherever you are hearing us or watching us from. This is Open Forum with Citizen MKO. And MKO stands for Matthew Kofi O'Connor. MKO is a productivity advocate and a citizen with extraordinary drive of patriotism. Today on Open Forum with Citizen MKO, we are going to look at a topic that is all-embracing and that has to do with education. And education has been defined as the process of receiving or giving systematic instruction, and it's added that it's especially at a school or university. But I want to say that education is a way of life. It can be gotten from any level. And interestingly, some very prominent persons have defined, said some things about education, and I want to take a couple of quotes. It was Nelson Mandela who said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And because a number of persons have not given attention to education, the weapon that is now changing the world in our climate, Nigeria, happens to be AK-47 in the hands of child terrorists and adult terrorists who have made life unbearable, and a number of schools have been shut. Nigeria is going through a bleeding moment, but we are standing firm as citizens to make our contributions to help our leaders get things done rightly. But today, on Open Forum with Citizen MKO, I'm going to play host. I'm playing host to the president of the Akwa Ibom State Integrated Private Schools Association, otherwise called AKIPSA. Education is not just a government thing. I shared thought with a very senior citizen the other day, and he said that the medical tourism that people go outside the country for is not in government-owned hospitals overseas. They are private hospitals. And I want to believe the same thing is applicable in the education sector. The education tourism that we spend so much billions annually, those are in private schools outside the country. It's a sorry state. But in Akwa Ibom State, we've been blessed with leaders who have flair, who have passion for education. Right from Obongata, who introduced free education policy at the primary and then junior secondary, to the former governor, Godswill Akpabio, who extended it to senior secondary, and then the big one, the administration of Governor Dum Emmanuel, has not only sustained that effort, but he has organized the the greatest education summit. Beyond education summit, he set up an education think tank with an international brand, Professor Hilary Young as chairman, and that committee came up with a roadmap. Not a proposal, not a recommendation, but a plan, which governors adopted and started implementing, and they commenced what is called state of emergency on the sector. Today, I have with me in the house Reverend Dr. Thomas Akpan, who is the president of AKIPSA, Akwa Ibom State Integrated Private Schools Association, AKIPSA. Dr. Akpan, you're welcome to Open Forum with Citizen MKO.
Thank you, my dear. A pleasure meeting you today.
The pleasure is mine. Briefly, please tell us what AKIPSA is all about.
Well, let me just call the name out as Akwa Ibom State Integrated Private Schools Association, AKIPSA. It's an indigenous state-based umbrella organization for private schools owners as well as education-based related agencies. in Akwa Ibom State.
Are you the only body at that level? Are there other organizations that are handling private school matters in the state?
I wouldn't think so. In every organization, we have sister organizations all over in the country and in the world.
So there are other organizations.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Exactly.
You're welcome. What are your aims? What do you want to achieve as AKIPSA?
Okay, let me say, among other aims and objectives, these are just to mention a few because of time. AKIPSA is on coordinating the delivery of quality education to private schools in Akwa Ibom State in particular, collaborates with government towards ensuring effective operation of private schools in the state, partners with the government at all levels in formation, interpretation, and implementation of education-related policies and design standard in schools. Complementing the state government effort towards achieving academic excellence and the provisions of reliable infrastructures, materials through corporate funding and mutual assistance.
I think that's a very good one.
To mention but a few.
The state government, under His Excellency Governor Dum Emmanuel, organized an education summit in 2019. And that education summit was the second in a series since the creation of the state. Because I can recall, and I have access to the main reports, that during the tenure of Obong Victor Otta in 2006, he organized the first Akwa Ibom Education Summit. Between the first Akwa Ibom Education Summit in 2006, under the administration of Obong Victor Otta, and the 2019 Education Summit organized by Governor Dum Emmanuel, did AKIPSA participate in any of this?
I would say I personally have been part of the whole activities, right from the administration of Obong Victor Otta and that of our dear governor, the current administration.
Now, there was a think tank, and they called for memos from members of the public and organizations. Did your organization submit a memo to the Professor Hilary Young think tank on education?
I think I can emphatically say yes, because if you look at the whole memo submitted to His Excellency, AKIPSA played a very vital role in it.
In the memo, what were some of the things that you articulated?
We suggested the issue on private school board to the government of Akwa Ibom State. And we also chip in that our observation regarding incessant movement of children from one school to another in the states is an error completely in things that has never been so even before Akwa Ibom State was born. So we've suggested a lot of things that I know that if it's implemented, everything will turn right as far as education sector is concerned.
Akwa Ibom State Private Schools Board. Explain a little bit. What do you have in mind about that?
What I am referring to Akwa Ibom State Private School Board here is just we suggested that the administration of our dear governor today should bring in a private school body into the system, not to allow just Minister of Education, or let me say the public school sector, to kind of oversee the administration of education. That it should be kind of coordinated with both hands, both parties, the public and the private coming in, having a board. And you see, something like a scholarship board, I don't see anything going on there. Something like, I would say, technical education board, we have about only 10 secondary school, what do you call it? Technical schools. But a board has been created. So if private school should have a board, that we know that in Akwa Ibom State in particular, 75% is made up of private education. So I think that is why we need.
I think that because of time we may not take much on that. You talked about the movement of pupils from one school
to another, which is an error.
What problem do you think that's going to solve?
You know, once that is done, it will assist to check the incessant upheavals in different schools, like children fighting here and there. Is going to as well check the kind of education activities among schools.
So you're trying to address the issue of cultism. Supposing a child is a cultist in this school and is rusticated, he now goes to another school and the child is given admission without any recourse to background checks. Is that what you mean?
I think that is at least part of it. And there are a lot of other things that will help. For a child to be checked before moving from one school to another, it will help everybody to know about the academic activities of a given child, and the academic record of the child will be highlighted.
Thank you. We know that education is so critical. It cannot be left to government alone. Akwa Ibom State government has been running free education, and some people have issues about is the education really free or is it tuition free? As a private school, as a stakeholder in the sector, if you're looking at the free education policy in the state, Akwa Ibom State, what would be your suggestion, very briefly?
Well, let me begin by saying a big thanks to our governor for kind of lifting that area of free education, going further from what our predecessors have been doing. And of course, declaring a state of emergency on education sector. I say kudos to our governor. But I want to say emphatically here that the public sector cannot do it alone. And without bringing in the private sector in this system of education, it will not work. And the governor will be doing that while the private sector is staying aloof. And without the collaboration,
let me come
it will not come in.
Bringing the private sector
into the system.
Yeah. What do you mean? Is the government doing anything that is not helping the private sector to thrive?
Of course. Yes, you are like kind of putting words into my mouth. I want to say that indeed, there is no way education in Akwa Ibom State can strive well. A moment the private sector is being sidelined. And I'm seeing it here that today, about 19 different taxes and revenues are being loaded on private schools, as if this private school is not actually contributing anything to the growth of the state.
Can you just name some of them, if not all of them?
It's all right. It's okay. Since that is necessary, I want to say in the private education sector, we are being faced with what is called shop rates imposed by local government council, signpost rates imposed by local government council, development rates imposed by local government council, education trust fund levy imposed by local government council, and we have another one called sanitation rates imposed by local government council, and then Akwa Ibom State Environmental Protection Agency. That is double taxation there. Public health rate imposed by local government council. Economic development levy imposed by Akwa Ibom State Internal Revenue Service, AKIRS. And then we have what is called registration stroke renewal of business premises rate imposed by AKIRS. We have registration and renewal of private education institution by AKIRS, which is another double taxation together with the Ministry of Education. We also have operational permits imposed by local government council. We have continued certificate for habitation imposed by local government council. We have pollution effluence discharge levy imposed by AKSEPA. We have boss emblem on private schools imposed by local government council. We have host community development levy imposed by local government council and community youth. We have we also have refuse disposal development levy imposed by local government council and AKSEPA. We also have this one we call 300 naira per head count charged by head of primary schools and all that. You don't allow me to go through. That's number 15. I want to give you all the breakdown of all what private schools is suffering that is actually helping.
The last three.
Okay, the last three here is under we have urban development levy by AKIRS. We have also another one I said non-identified taxes termed demand notice. We also have the last one, fire service safety revenue, all geared towards private education. sector. With this kind of taxes, there's no way private education can strive well in Akwa Ibom State. And take away private education sector, there is no education in Akwa Ibom State.
Well, take away private sector, there's no education, not just in Akwa Ibom State, it's anywhere in
Nigeria,
the world.
of course.
Very importantly, I am overwhelmed by the list. But then, when you come to registration of schools, the real thing that you can, because you've not accused Ministry of Education of anything, and you are just talking about the local government and the AKIRS, the Internal Revenue Service, but that means Ministry of Education is doing very well. You don't have any issue with them.
No. That's not what I mean. Well, they are doing their job anyway, but in the area of taxation also, or levy, if I should call so, registration. Initially, before now, I want to say that there was a kind of, in the area of education, the Ministry of Education, we have had schools in rural areas before paying 10,000 naira for registration form. We have had 10,000 naira also paid for, in suburban, we have had about 10,000 naira also paid in the semi-suburban area. But today, it has been something different, something obnoxious. That something that we used to pay 10,000 naira before is now going for not less than 100,000 naira. That is just the purchase of form. And another 150,000 naira in the suburban, that is just the purchase of form. And another 200,000 naira, that is in the urban area, which is obnoxious completely. And in this area is another way that destroys private education sector.
If we don't go on this break, it will be obnoxious. Let's take a break. Let's take a breather.
Have you been looking for a program that is solely tailored for public interest? Then